Hey guys, welcome back to Best Practice TV. I'm Kobi Simmet, I'm your host, and this is CEO versus intern. Bit of COVID going around right now, so I'm staying at home to keep my germs to myself, and we're going to get into it. If you guys could get inside my head and ask me any question, what would it be?
How important are people's personal lives to you?
Yeah, look, we talked about, you touched on their hobbies and your personal life and what's going on. That's important to me. Um, what I'm looking for in team members is people who have a passion and an interest for the work, and that's going to come through in hobbies and personal interests. If somebody's coming to me and saying, "I just need money to pay my rent or buy my food or live my life," then you're gonna have less resilience to get through the tough days, and that when shit's going wrong and things aren't going right, you're not going to be inspired to keep showing up because you're just doing it for money. And so that plays out in, I can't be fucked to do this today, I'm just going to take a sick day. I just don't have it today and I'm not motivated, I'm not interested. Somebody who's got interests and hobbies that are similar or complementary to the work that we're doing is going to play out in a good way, because you're doing things on the weekend or at home or at night, or you're searching your browser, you're sitting online at night searching and watching and looking at things that are complementary to what we're doing. I'll give you an example. Luke, who's floating around there somewhere, he goes full driving all weekend, which is cool, in itself, and it's not the same. But what he does do is he videos a lot of it and he makes his own Instagram stuff. And so he's got an Instagram page with, I don't know what he's up to, but last time I checked, it was like 25,000 followers on Instagram just of him driving around in a muddy full drive, crawling rock steps and things like that. And so he's experimenting for his own personal reasons with reels and videos and images and captions and hashtags and the Instagram platform. And for me, that's very valuable because he learns lessons on a Saturday and a Sunday and at night during the week, and then that actually accelerates what we're doing. So I can give him a little bit more leniency and some more, a longer leash, if you like, to do those kinds of things, and even fuck around and do that in the office because it's going to benefit us. So he's practicing his craft on the weekends at night. And so for me, that's really interesting and it's really important. And you can see how I can get benefit from it. So if someone walks in and says, I don't really care, I'm happy to do anything, I just need the money because I need to pay my rent to get me through uni, or, get me started in life, I'm going to choose the person who's got interests that are complementary to what we're doing over the person who just wants a job. So the lesson here is, the quick and dirty way to kind of then answer this question is, then I will say to somebody, um, it's not a not now for our organization, but go and have a look at your browser history. Look at the people that you're following on TikTok. Look at the people that you're following on Instagram. Look at the people that you're following that are not your friends on Snapchat, whatever it might be. And is that a particular industry or a particular area of interest? Let me turn you around and point you in the direction of an organization or a company who's making money in that kind of space, and that's going to be more aligned, and so you're going to muck around and do things on the weekend. For example, you talked about, one of you studying sports management. If you are interested in the NRL, for example, and you're thinking about managing players in the NRL, and so I'm going to say, well, maybe you could consider marketing at Four Pines or marketing at one of the companies that is a massive sponsor of the NRL, because that's going to get you close to athletes, because ultimately what you might want to be doing is managing athletes, for example, or surfing. I've just been at a funeral for one of the high profile figures in the surfing community. And so you might want to get close to and do marketing in that space because you're interested in surfing and managing potentially athletes in surfing or athletes in the Olympics. So you might go, you know what, I'm gonna take a hit on the money side of things. I'd be happy to go work for ASICS, for example, to get me near athletics, or near, different athletic sports. So you can see how coming here, for example, is like, oh, I just need a job to do that kind of stuff. But I'd say, you know what, actually, you're prepared to go and do something to get close to where you want to be, and you'll do that for free, and you're prepared to tough it out in a voluntary kind of internship to prove that you want to do it to somebody to get you moving forward. You with me? if somebody who is just doing something completely random as a personal hobby, then I'm not going to be interested in talking to them as much unless I can see that I'm going to get some kind of benefit from it. So, the quick and dirty tip for you, if you're trying to find your passion and where you should chase work, is to look at your browser history. If you've got an iPhone, look at your Safari history, look at what you've been looking at, look at the apps that you've got, and then look at the businesses that are in those industries. That, every business does finance, every business does marketing, every business does sales, every business does some kind of customer service. So you can take that area of speciality into an industry that you're interested in being involved in, and that's the best way to find your passion. And then you're happy to show up on the shitty days and grind it out because you're in an industry and you're around people that you want to be around. Okay, next person. If you could get inside my head and ask me any question, what would it be?
What would be the most valued skill that you've ever seen in an employee? It may not be like they're really good at accounting or something, but like a personal skill or something, like a trait that they have that you found very valuable for yourself and for the business.
Yeah, great question. Without a doubt, I'll put a generic label on it. Without a doubt, it's the ability to sell, sales and selling. The most common complaint or objection I hear from employees is I'm not a salesperson and I don't like selling. And so that is by far the most common. And so somebody who says, yeah, no worries at all, I get it. It doesn't mean that you need to be a salesperson as such, but you're influencing every day. When you go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Tuesday night, whatever night, you're trying to influence a prospective partner and pitch them on you being a partner for them. Male, female, whatever you're looking for. So it starts there, right? And so if you've got the ability to influence people, then you've got the ability to pitch your ideas in a team, in a work environment, or pitch your ideas or your concept or your product or service to a customer, pitch your ideas to your work colleagues to get to rally people around you, pitch your idea up to your boss, pitch your idea down to someone below you. Just because I'm a leader doesn't mean I get to point the finger and say, hey, you need to do what I say because I'm the boss. It doesn't work that way. No one likes to be told what to do, particularly team members. And so, leadership is about leading people, not pushing people, if that makes sense. Otherwise, we'd be called pushers, not leaders. So that's something that I think if you can learn, and I put a generic label on it because some people miss it when I say, I'd like people to be influencers because they go, oh, that doesn't mean I need to take a selfie. And I was just out for a walk and, I saw a dude standing in the middle of the road going, oh, look, and he's like, taking pictures of himself at the bus stop. It's not about being an influencer. It's about being able to sell your ideas, sell your product, sell your service, sell yourself to the opposite sex or your partner or whatever that you're going to go for, at the pub or a hotel or at a nightclub, on a weekend, to start a relationship or whatever that might be. So I think that's really important. So my book recommendations are Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone and The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Two incredible books that anybody who is a professional should have in their business books library. And if you're somebody who openly is, I'm not a salesperson, you must read those books. You must know that information. And that is at least going to give you an understanding of the very simple process of massive information gathering, presenting and closing. And that's a sales process. So it's something that it's advice I wish I was given, when I was 15 years old, when I started working. I've been self-funded since I was 15. And I wish someone had said, hey, you can learn selling, and I'd be a lot further down the track. And so you guys are pretty lucky to get that advice today, that if you can get those books, and we've definitely got them available. I think there's have a look in the Cam will show you what's in the studio. I heard This Is Marketing mentioned in the marketing meeting this morning, but definitely Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. Sell or be sold. And so you don't want to be sold or sold to. You want to take control, always take control of a negotiation and an influence, and you'll get, you'll get win-win. Otherwise it'll be win-lose. Great questions, by the way. Okay, next one. Now that we've got a bit of a roll going, let's throw it back over the other side of the table. If you could get inside my head and ask me any question, nothing's off limits, what would it be?
What do you think is the biggest fear from someone starting their own business?
Oh, great question. I'll tell you what my biggest fear was that I was going to run out of money. I had a mortgage. I was going to be in a position where I couldn't pay my mortgage, and I was going to let people down. Um, and I think that that was my biggest fear, that I would get to a point where I had made a commitment to someone and they'd worked for me for a week or 2 weeks, or 2 weeks. I think we started fortnightly wages and salaries, and that I wouldn't have the money in the bank to pay them. So they made a commitment. They've shown up. Most employees show up because it's a regular income. There's 10, maybe 20% of the population on a kind of self-employed basis, if you like. But by far the majority of the population is jobs, employees, if you like, in out in the economy. And people choose that because they get the security of a kind of set fixed income, regular income that they can be guaranteed each week, and they can plan their life around that. I'm not. My chemicals aren't bred that way. I'm more interested in, oh, there's some money, I'll go get that money, and I'll go get that money, and I'll go get that money, instead of I want one person to just give me the same amount of money each week, and then maybe I can go back and ask for a bit more each year so I get a salary increase. My chemicals don't work like that. But my biggest fear was making sure that I had enough so that I could, the people that had promised me to work for me for 2 weeks, and I could say, right, you do that task, you do that task, and I'll put all the value together. I've always been worried to make sure that I can make the commitments, and that they've committed to this, and they can go in the future. The second fear, because we're talking about fears, is I hate firing people, because when I have to fire somebody, it's not working on my side, and it's 100% my responsibility. Like I had, I was like, it's my fault because I hired them in the first place. So we start there, and I'm like, fuck, I hired them. I shouldn't have hired them. My gut was telling me that I shouldn't have hired them, and I made a commitment, and they've built a life around that: rent, loan for a car, maybe some credit card debt, maybe saving for an overseas holiday, and I've committed to them that, based on their income, and I'm about to say, you know what, I'm not going to pay any money anymore, and I take that very seriously, and I lose sleep over it when it's not working on my side, and I take the financial hit for a long, often, in the past, long periods of time where I'm losing money just because I don't want to take someone's income away from them. And I've gone into massive debt over the years, not actually ripping the band-aid off and going, right, we need to deal with this. So that's my second biggest fear. There's a lot of other people that are built differently to me, that they're like, no, that's I'm going to fire them. They're not working, and they do it really quickly. But I worry about, lots of the people that work for us have little young children and mortgages and houses and rent, and the money that they get from best practice and our business every fortnight is significant. They don't have war chests, big bank balances that can take them for 4, 6, 8 weeks while they go to get another job, and so that's a challenge. So two things have made me feel better in the last 10 years. The first thing was that Uber came along, and anyone can walk out, get fired, walk out of their job, and go and drive for Uber, and whether it's carrying and ferrying passengers around, or driving for Uber Eats, that was fantastic. So that's made me feel so much better, because I know that people can literally walk straight out the door, download the app, get in their car, and be that afternoon set up to deliver for Uber. And if they're motivated, they can make almost as much money. There are Uber drivers out there earning 150K a year. So they're obviously hustling, and they're working the system, and they're finding out where the high value rides are, and basically rides back and forth, not rides one way, one way, one way, one way. They're going one way, the other way, one way, the other way. So people are making good money on Uber. The second thing that's happened in the last 10 years, and specifically right now, is unemployment's at the lowest it's ever been. In Australia, it's currently at 3.5%, excuse me, which means it's an employee's market. So two things are happening. The first is that there's jobs everywhere, and the second thing that's happening is it's basically an employee's market. So you can almost demand anything that you want. You've got to follow up, because there'll be expectation built into that. So they're my two biggest fears, and I apologize for the long explanation, but it's challenging right now for leaders and employers. Like we're hunting for people. There's a people shortage that always comes after a lot of stimulus. There's been a lot of people on job keeper, job saver, job creator, whatever the job things are, employment benefits here in Australia, and we've got to get off that. We're not quite there yet, but there's a lot going on. There was a lot of economic stimulus that overinflated and overheated the economy. We're now suffering the results of that. But right now, I'm not so worried. If I need to fire someone right now, I know they'll be able to go for 4 or 5 jobs in the next month, and they'll be re-employed. So the responsibility is over onto everybody else. If you're somebody who is picking up a wage or salary each week or each month, you need to make sure that you've got 2 months or 3 months of savings in the bank at all times. And we do that as a business. We make sure we've got 3, 4, 5 months worth of salaries and wages in the bank at all times, for a rainy day. And when the pandemic hit, we did dip into that, but we were able to keep paying everybody and keep everybody employed as best we could. And that was a good thing. And you should apply that if you're an employee. Make sure you've got 2, 3, 4 months worth of your income in the bank for a rainy day in case you get fired or you're out of employment, to give you a chance to find the right job for you, not just jump to the next bad job. Okay, so if you could get inside my head and ask me any question, what would it be? Nothing's off limits.
Obviously, you're a CEO, so you've had to do a lot of leadership. Has your leadership style changed over the years, and how so?
Absolutely. 10 years ago, I was a nightmare to work for. I was reactive. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Although I've always had a lot of empathy, I kind of was more reactive. And, one thing that we talk about, behind, when we're just having a CEO conversation, or I'm, mentoring someone to be a CEO, I was like, the thing that you're allowed to say when I'm in this room with the camera off, like I'm in my home office, is, oh, for sake. You can say that to yourself, but you can't say that out loud. I used to say that out loud, and it makes people fearful. So my leadership style has changed a lot in the last 10 years, and so has the community. The employment community's changed a lot. Really big thing that has happened is obviously everybody gets a year older every year. No shit. But what's happening is different generations of people are coming through. So for example, when I was in primary school and the beginning of high school, everything was done on a chalkboard with chalk. Our teachers wrote on chalkboards with chalk. Now, have you guys ever been in a classroom with a chalkboard? Probably not. Probably a whiteboard and a whiteboard pen. Okay, I'm seeing a nod, so maybe you're an anomaly. A whiteboard and a whiteboard pen, and now smart boards. Those students are now making their way into the workforce. And so, it is different. And so the community is different. And so a new generation of people have raised the new employees coming into the workforce. And so our leadership style has had to change. My leadership style in terms of my transition I'm 47 years old next month. In my career history, from starting work when I was 15 years old, it is significantly different. Bullying and harassment existed in the workplace. They brought in laws because it was a problem. Mental health was an issue in the workplace. They've brought in laws because it became a problem. So our leadership styles have had to change. We've had to be more empathetic. We'd have to, more accountable, more transparent, more vulnerable, those things. So command and control has changed. It used to be command and control, and now it is inspiration and motivation. And that's the verbiage, if you like, that has changed in terms of how we're leaders. And it is hard for a transitional millennial. I'm a millennial. For millennials, it's difficult because we have got our first impressions in a very tough, and pushy environment. And now we've got people coming into the workplace, walking straight out of our college or university and saying, I want $200,000. And we're saying, there is no way that you ever would have said that 20 years ago. And I'm like quite shocked when people say that to me. But social media is helping people to have the confidence to do that. Good luck. If someone manages to get a yes to that question, there's a shitload of expectation baked into that. And you better be delivering. But they're like, I'm going to ask for 200 and see what happens. And then, if I get it, great. And if I don't deliver, I'll just go and find something else. So there's a lot more fluidity now. And leadership has changed as a result and will continue to change. What we have right now, when someone watches this video in 15 years' time, they're going to go, who is that guy? What is he saying on that video? Because expectations of people in teams will change again. It's a cycle, and it goes through cycles, and it's pattern recognition. We're about to go into, 10 year, I believe we're about to go into 10 years of quite tough times. We've just had a 40-year run of incredible liquidity and success in all the economic markets from 1970 through to, basically 24 months ago. And so I would be encouraging anyone who is watching this video to go back and look at the 1970s and what happened in the markets in the 1970s, because we're seeing very similar indicators that from today, basically 2022 through to basically 2032, we're going to see, I believe, some very interesting similarities between markets. Now that may change leadership styles back to command and control, because there's no room for error. We've got inflation, we've got tighter pressure on pricing, tighter pressure on margins in companies, and that may mean that leaders are going to need to be tougher to get the financial results that they need to succeed. And it may mean that humans need to, toughen up a little bit more, and when you do things with your hands, when you do activities with your hands, your skin on your hands gets tough. It builds calluses, it builds resilience. Athletes, through practice, become tougher athletes and stronger athletes. And I think that we just, as humans, we haven't had to work hard, and we haven't become work hardened. And I suspect that we will become tougher, because people are going to lose their houses. Interest rates are going up, currencies are changing. There's a lot of liquidity. People are going to need to tough it out, to be able to shine through. And tough athletes, because we're talking about sports management, tough athletes are going to be the ones that are more resilient. And so I think we're going to see that transition into the workplace. The people that can tough it out are going to be the ones that are going to be successful. So if you want to take a tip away from this video right now, is if you can be mentally tough in the workplace and have strong mental resilience, you're more likely to succeed. And you got to take 100% responsibility for everything. Start there before you start blaming the world for you not being successful. You're successful, just like athletes, when you do the work and you do the practice. And so leaders acknowledging that are going to look for that, and they're going to pick people out. They're going to pick the resilient people. They're going to pick the people that practice. They're going to pick the people that are high performance, and that's going to how you're going to succeed. This has been an absolutely awesome episode of CEO versus Intern. Stay tuned for more.